have seen many people shouting abuse at me and looking at me with strange grim faces. This car is a reminder of the old times. So welcome to the 21st century. There's a store. It is called Second Chance. We are arriving the most notorious town in Estonia. It used to be a nuclear submarine down. Ordinary people were not allowed here, and it was a military zone full of Russian military, or actually Soviet military. Here you can see LNG gas tanks as we are closing by. Imagine you're coming to a city that is full of industrial stuff just looking at you. So welcome to the town of Paldiski. This place used to be a Soviet military town, but before that it was built by Tsar Peter I, who made it as a port town. So it was called a Baltic port. That's why its name is derived as Paldiski. And during the times, there was a lot of trading, a lot of people coming and passing through. So it was a trading town full of the coastal Swedes. But during the Soviet era, the most Swedish population were deported or they escaped to Sweden because the Soviet rule just wanted to destroy some people, and a lot of people from the lands of Soviet Union were brought in, so they started building those apartment blocks. And it used to be a beautiful wooden city full of wooden houses, and it had a marvelous church, and it still has some churches. But such apartment buildings, they have destroyed the romantic premises that this place used to hold. But there is some beautiful architecture that I'm going to show you. This is not the most romantic town in the world, but there are many good things about it that I really cherish and love. For example, in the distance there are small islands where there are no inhabitants, and you can book a day trip with a boat over there. This is the grimmest entrance to a town or a city that I have seen in my life, and I have been to many places, to many cities and towns in my life. So enjoy. There are quite many abandoned buildings over here, and at least 4 places where you can bring your empty bottles. But there's a lot of beautiful architecture that has been left into the ruins of time. For example, all the houses are not ugly or grim, but some are even quite spectacular and beautiful, and they have a proper roof upon them. You look at them, and there's this interesting thing that you see the Estonian flag over there. Today is the national holiday, and this country had most nuclear weapons per square mile or square meter. How do you want to express yourself? But basically, if during the Cold War there would have been a nuclear attack on Soviet Union, then it would be centered around Estonia, and this place would be annihilated totally. In this town, there was a nuclear base, so they had those submarines with nuclear missiles loaded upon them. So it's terrifying. And today they have all this nuclear waste buried next to the city. So that's crazy also. I have been wondering, is it possible to purchase some townhouses over here, like this one? There's so much potential over here, but you can see this crack in the middle of the building, that it is going to be a ruin. And this town suffers a lot about abuse use and people being drunk during middle of the day, and I reckon that someone might be in there, so I'm not going to peek into that house. But you see, the other house next to it is quite functioning. That house over there is a remnant of the classical times that used to happen in the city. As you can, in the background, there are those huge apartment blocks that sadly diminish the architectural value of the property over here. Because when you have those huge apartment blocks which are deteriorating in a pace that no one is able to manage, then it means that soon they will be demolished. But for that long, there is not that much value for the old houses that have been restored. And also the aesthetical value, how much beauty you can find in such town. I love this gateway over here. It's just beautiful, mesmerizing gateway that I would like to have at my home. Maybe I'm gonna build something like that. But the view is crap. Sorry for that. This is a flower studio. I will plaster those walls in a different way, but that's the choice of the owner. The roof is beautiful. Steel, but it's still beautiful. And this column, I think this house is an architectural marvel. Sadly, the plaster work is ugly, or these are kind of panels I see. Those panels are ugly, but this column and everything, and the roof. So we could make this one a better place. And here's another one. This is a church. This is the ugliest church I have seen in my life, but hold for it. It has got something beautiful to it, and I will show it. The half circle over there, that's beautiful. But yes, the ugliest church I've seen in my life. And this is a local kindergarten. It's a quite beautiful house. Although it does not have a roof, but it has those columns next to it. And I think it's a pleasant place where a child could grow up. But this place is not utterly grim and bleak. This is a nice coffee and cake shop where you can come and enjoy your lunch or a meal or a piece of cake. Now we have arrived to the central square, which is quite calm and beautiful place. Something that the government of the city has modernized. To my back, there is the Pakri Plaza, which is the governmental house of the whole county, I would say. And the strange thing is that usually I come here with my child, and I'm just dressed neutrally. No one cares. They just look that I am a part of the society, part of the community. But today, when I am filming, I have seen many people shouting abuse at me and looking at me with strange grim faces. But this city is a beautiful place to grow up, because the line of poverty is, I would say, greater. So here are not so many rich people. So children, they come outside and they play on the streets, they play with each other. That's a positive and nice thing, because when you go to the middle or upper class homes, children are usually watching their screens and they just don't care anything about playing or hanging out with other children. So keep that in mind, that poor places or lower class, lower income would be a beneficial thing for the development of children. But there's a sad story to it. So a lot of people who are living in such apartments, they have problems, they have issues with their self-worth, etc. So they are abusing a lot of substances, alcohol, and of course there is some violence because of that. That's just a sad reality that we are living in this world on this very moment. But I hope, and I am an optimist, that by developing the technology, developing the AI, we will be free from the constraints of working in factories and having to live in places that we do not like, actually. This is a beautiful pink house, classical wooden framework. And they have a nice garden, they're growing their own food. The only strange thing is that it is full of contrast. As you can see, an apartment block behind the house and next to the house. So this is so strange, but it's a beautiful house. And I must say that I am on this very moment, on this part of the Down that was prohibited for Estonian speakers 20 years ago. If I came here, someone would have just smashed my face, taken away my things, and maybe even butchered me. But nowadays the things have changed. People have assimilated more and more, made friends with other speaking languages. As I observe the youth in the evenings in this town, the Estonian speaking, the Russian speaking youth are communicating with each other and they are friends. So they are picking their fights with other youth from other towns, so not with each other anymore. I show you a nice building. So someone has fought with the legislation and built a 20 square meter 2-story house over here. So this kind of a house does not need any permission, and you can live your life without anyone coming and doing strange things with you. And you can see there are some cranes in the back over there, because there is a port of Paldiski. Huge, I think the most important trade port in this country. Now we are on the premises of the naval base of Tsar Peter I. So he built over here a naval base that was able to defend the port and the whole city from intruders or conquerors. But first of all, I came to my favorite place. This is a henge, I could say, my personal Stonehenge, my Bushhenge, Bushcraft, Bushhenge, Bush people. Okay, but now I will show you something shocking over the hill. And I must say that people living over here are quite pleasant. They're normal people, just a lot of abuse of drugs and alcohol, because they are living next to a factory, next to a port. As this town has several factories, a huge port, and there is no real perspective for creation of art, I could say. So there you can see the Down, the prohibited part of the Down that was closed for Estonians. Now I can walk there. I heard some abuse and some people were looking at me with strange faces because I am filming around there. But here you can see the port infrastructures, and they have got two ports here, the southern and the northern port. And on this very moment I am standing on the old fortifications. So it's a really clever port actually, because the fortifications were built upon natural limestone walls or natural limestone cliffs. So they used the land space to actually create something that could fortify the army, fortify the people. And before, this place was full of Russian navy, etc. It was a peaceful village by the coastal Swedes, the Swedish, who had come here with the Swedish Empire or the kingdom. When I look at those cargo ships, my body starts shivering. I'm feeling so uncomfortable when I'm next to them. Today the port is quite empty for some reason. But sometimes there's a lot of things going on. And into the space it goes until it reaches the other part of the port, where there is even more ships and cargo to be transported. And there is this greenwashing problem in this country, that government is selling logs, freshly cut timber, to Denmark, to Netherlands, to UK, and it is made into pellets. So people are burning them in the Denmark, in Netherlands, etc. And it has got sustainable CFE certification, that it's sustainably managed forest. But in reality, it's the greatest greenwashing lies ever. We have got huge problems of deforestation on this very moment because we are fucking cutting our trees into pellets. There you can see the beautiful wind turbines over there. On this very moment, we have got this political war over building wind turbines. A lot of common folk are against them, and the politicians are trying to force them upon the land. And 3, 4, 5, 6 times taller than those. This is an old painting of the town, how it was before. So sadly, we have lost the beautiful houses and architecture. But this is the old well. You can come here and you can see what's going on over there. I still cannot understand that architect who built that Pakri Plaza. It's a strange communistic piece of architecture made during the era of capitalism. So that's strange. But here is something beautiful that I want to mimic in my own garden. This row of stones, and they have roses growing over here. So in the summer it's all blooming and so beautiful. So I'm gonna mimic it in my own garden. So this is the place where I come mostly with my children, so they can ride with the scooters, and there's a playground. And my first impressions about this town were that I was shocked. I was utterly shocked, like, wow, what's going on? But then I started hanging around with my children over here, and I found out that actually people over here are also really caring, warm, and even more warmer than in large cities or towns where there are many hundreds of thousands of people living. So I found this community and society that is nourishing, actually. Although there's a lot of problems with substance. So when I come here in the summer evenings around 9 and 10, then there's a lot of people drinking, and when you go to the doors, to the shop door, there's a lot of drunkards and old hobos, even during the daytime. So in the winter they are somewhere dispatched into the ruins, and many of them die. But then those houses sadly populate new hobos. So they are just making new hobos and populating themselves. But there's something I want to show you. It's the Church of Saint Sergi. And sadly, you can see in the background, there are those windmills spinning. So it's kind of a dystopian, utopian, classical architecture versus the crazy technology. But this is a really beautiful church. And in the old times, the churches were made to harness the energy, the cosmic energy. And when you look at how that house is built, it's just beautiful. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns, I reckon. So it's a sacred architecture, sacred geometry that creates harmony. And my desire is that all the houses would be built like that, like churches. You can see some copper roofing, and it's just wonderful place. The name of the street is also beautiful. Tuule üks, so wind, the street of the winds. Yes, when there's a storm, there's a storm. Now we are walking through the local park, Le Petit Jardin. Now it's quite empty in the summertime. There are quite many people laying on the ground and being drunk. Not so many families having a picnic, but that's also a way of life. But most hobos are quite neutral and not disruptive because they are ashamed of their own situation. But I a little bit dig this town and this architecture as well. It's kind of a monumental architecture, like in the times of Stalin, etc., in the Soviet times, like Le Corbusier in the other parts of the world. They wanted to create monumental buildings that are practical and could accommodate a lot of people, but they did not know the social consequences what such buildings will bring to them. This car is a reminder of the old times that now have been gone for a long, long time. But this is a beautiful stone wall, beautiful gate. This house should be a museum of an old artist, and here you can see it's a grade 2 listed monument, a national monument, and the roof is beautiful when you look at it, and how the timber framing has been made. This is a place where I would like to live in another town, because you can see those Stalinistic houses in the background, and then they are against the nature of a beautiful, beautiful timber framed house that has got plastered walls, etc. And this is a dream home for the hobos, I must say. You can make a fire over there and the house will not burn down because it is made of bricks. So welcome to the 21st century. There's a store. It is called Second Chance. It's a quite popular store. You can have old clothes, old furniture, and all kinds of old stuff from there. So this is Google Street View. Usually I do not lock the doors of my car, but in this town I adamantly lock the doors of my car because I am afraid that someone will come and steal it. So now we are approaching the outer rim of the city. There will be some gardens and suburbia, but many houses in the outer rim are abandoned and been nailed down. And here's on the left, there's a beautiful orange restored house. So it's not that common over here. And I must say, this one with the red roof, I'm calling it the last friendly house in the town. Now we are driving on the edge of the world. On the left there is great ocean, and in the front there's the watchtower, or the lighthouse actually. This is a usual statue of a lady with tits. I can count at least 5 such wooden statues around the country. So it's quite a common sight that you can find such statues. You can come over here and book yourself a holiday. That's a holiday rental over there, and a lighthouse. You can climb up there and you will see amazing landscapes, the sea and the lands around here. This is something that I am strongly anticipating, when this structure will fall into the ocean down here, because this rim is crumbling each year. The stones are falling and falling. So soon we will get rid from this fractured tower. Over here you can see the end of the world, where we all shall perish into the sea. There is this song by the band called Sunrise Avenue, Hollywood Hills. So this is my Paldiski Hills, the hills across the sea. So here we are driving in midst of those wind turbines. Living in their proximity will cause tinnitus and other long-term damage to a person or to animals. 20 kilometers from here, on top of a hill, I can hear the sound of those turbines just calling out. For me, it's a dreadful sight because they are so large and you are so small as a person. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please click subscribe, like, and let me know the most dreadful cities that you know that actually are not that dreadful, but you had this assumption about them. So thank you very much for enjoying, and goodbye.